Hey there, Bohnel. This is General Game Changer here. I'm just going to have a little scan of your base. So I'm using an old account that I've got, so I can see what an enemy would. Just initial observations there, my friend. 93% attacking HQ rate is absolutely fantastic, so keep that up. And 40% defending is absolutely superb as well. I do suspect though you're not using your fobs a great deal, and I know we've picked that up going forward, so hopefully that will help. And I think PvP as well, you could certainly possibly increase your PvP level a little bit, and you should find that that will give you more metal per attack when you win, so that will be definitely well worth looking at. So just looking around your base, first of all, the spawn zoning is nigh on pretty good. You could maybe push out a little bit further on that side. Other than that, it looks like you're pushing people out quite well. So good work on there. Let's have a little scan. What would I do? What would I do to kill you? Initially, most things are placed quite well. You've got mines in all the awkward little places, so that's quite good. I'd be tempted, and I think you probably know this, I'll be tempted to spawn here, maybe go up and over and hit the helicopter, because there's nothing really but that salvo that's gonna give us any bother. If I come from here, by spawning that zone there, I can certainly lose the helicopter quite easy, but I would struggle to get to your war factory from that side. The first thing I'm always personally doing is going for the war factory. That's what I'm always aiming for. And you've got the war factory fairly reasonably tucked in there, but I'll tell you what I'd be looking at, my friend. Have a little look at the Peacemaker, see if you can unlock that yet. I do forget what point it unlocks. See if you've got that. I suspect you should have, because it's CC related, but it could be level related. But the Peacemaker in combination with your defence will give you a much better sort of coverage. They are pretty shit hot, to be honest, so have a little look at that for us. I'm not a big fan of railguns personally. I mean, all my attack involve distance, so M270, GMLRS, HIMARS I've now got, so I can outrange your machine gun, I can outrange your railgun, and I can outrange howitzer. The only things I can't outrange are Peacemakers and salvos. So I would possibly suggest keep going with your salvos, get them to your maximums. Have a little look at flak cover. You seem possibly vulnerable to air attack, I think, if I was to look at it. I mean, your machine guns obviously provide a certain amount of air, but now you've lost air cover from the heavy platform. You could maybe look to have a little bit more flat cover in there as well, just to make sure that you're not vulnerable to air attack. I think that'd be my main feedback. I mean, you've got... I mean, you've got to admit the toughest thing in your base at the moment, which is still level 6. Obviously, it wants to be level 7 before long. The toughest thing is the tanks coming out of the war factory. So, in my humble opinion, the thing I want to take out the quickest is the war factory, followed by barracks, followed by helicopters, depending on... I mean, you could go helicopters first, depending on what your attack is, but I always have Zeus, so helicopters don't really bother me too much. But get that out of the way. What I'd try and be doing is I'd probably want to come from this side to take out your helicopter. And if you think logically, to take out your war factory, you think logically, the only thing you've got protecting us there is the salvo and the machine gun. The the heavy platform there is going to be out of range. The railgun there is going to be out of range. So to do a bit of extra damage, I'd probably take the railgun out and probably put a Peacemaker in, or if you haven't got that, certainly another salvo I think would be well worth looking at. And I think somewhere in here you probably do need to be looking at having a little bit more air cover. If you swap the existing positions of the machine guns for, say, a flak, you could be vulnerable from this side. But I mean, I'm certainly running on 3 flak, so I'm fairly well covered against air. So you've got to somehow work out maybe how you can get an extra air in there, but not leave yourself vulnerable from one of the sides. It is a tricky balance to work with, but I do suspect that you probably need more protection from this side, because I think that's where people are going to come from. So why don't you maybe try some mines coming from this side, so that when they're trying to get into your war factory, you're going to make it as difficult for them as possible, because ultimately if you can get them to spawn, then I think that's going to be far better. And the other thing I would do as well, I would push one of these walls out a little bit, because that will allow the tanks to get out. Because really what you want your tanks to be spawning reasonably early on, say 14-15 seconds or whatever they are, and where previously I would have said you keep them inside the walls as long as you can, and then obviously people knock the walls down, and then all hell breaks loose. I'm finding now that with the type of long range attack people are using, it does cause them probably more problems if the tanks are coming to meet them, because if they stay within the walls and then I fire at the walls, then that explosive damage can take out the tanks as well. So I think trying to put them under pressure is probably how I would do it. So yeah, just slip the wall, say that one there, slip that forward a couple of positions, so that obviously the wall is still there, but it creates a gap for the tanks to get through. I think that might prove to be a little bit more interesting for your opponent, and same with the troops as well. Have a little think about what troops you're using. I'm personally going more towards the higher class people, like Force Recon, things along that sort of line. They certainly work well. I'm liking what you're doing with the helicopters. Getting them beefed up is certainly good. I think that again causes people more problems. So overall, mate, really good. Just a couple of things that maybe you could have a little bit to think about. But generally speaking, that is a very nice setup base with very little I can critique on. So really good, mate. Keep it up. Just have a think about protecting that war factory and barracks more, say mines maybe, or slightly better coverage on that side, because I think I've got to be honest, that is where they want to come from, and I suspect if you watch your replays, that's what you'll find happening. Alright, take care, bro. Cheers.